Hi everyone, I wanted to do a short book review today about this book, Help Me, that I've been reading by Marianne Power. So I've been reading this lately because I think that I've kind of been stuck in a rut. It got me interested because I saw a lot of the reviews here were like hilarious and thought-provoking, and when I flipped through it, it kind of seemed like a story which got me interested. Yeah. So now I will talk about what I generally think. So overall, I definitely recommend for everyone to read. It's a really easy book to read, especially because it's like a storybook. There's a lot of dialogues inside, and it's not like usual self-help book, where a lot of it is philosophical or they use very complex language to describe something. On the other hand, this book is very digestible and you can flip through it like right before you sleep, or if you're just free. It'll make time pass by quite quickly and you easily get sucked into this story. Okay, and one other thing that I felt what this book is about mainly is that the author, Marianne Power, she reads a few self-help books across 1 year and she summarizes them in each chapter. So you get the main learning lessons from each self-help book, which is quite helpful. I also thought that, as I read this book, I can't help but feel a sense of despair that Marianne slips down a rabbit hole in the middle of her journey, which is quite sad for me. So my biggest takeaways from this book is that firstly, there are a few self-help books that are worth reading in my opinion. The first would be Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways by Susan Jeffers, which I am currently reading actually, so I borrowed it from the library because according to Marianne, this book actually was what propelled her career into what we know today. So it seems to be very impactful and I want to see whether it can change anything in my life as well. The second book worth reading is called Get the Guy. So it's about tips to get into a relationship, which is very helpful for those out there who are looking for relationships, because it seems to have very concrete recommendations according to what Marianne says in this. The third one is called The Power of Now by Eckhart, and then his last name is Tolle. Again, I don't want to butcher it. According to Marianne, The Power of Now is a very powerful book because she hit rock bottom and that book helped her to get back up. But my takeaway from it is that people kind of read it and it's only helpful when you've hit literally the rock bottom, when there's nothing else you feel that you can do. So like what Marianne said also, that she tried reading it once but it didn't help her a lot because she couldn't really understand what he was trying to say in the book. But when she hit rock bottom, then she could understand everything and it seemed to give her a lot of epiphanies. So maybe I'll pick that book up if I ever hit rock bottom. So my biggest takeaways is, the self-help books which would be worth reading is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways, Get the Guy, and The Power of Now. On the flip side, what I personally found difficult to get through while I was reading this is, first, and a very big one, is that Marianne kind of joined like a cult movement in her journey, and she really wasn't herself, and she began to alienate herself from her friends and family. So it felt like she was really slipping down the rabbit hole and I wasn't sure whether she would be able to get back up from it. Secondly, when I was reading it, it felt really, really obvious that the path which Marianne was going down was a bad one, because she began to adopt very eccentric behaviors. She didn't hang out with her friends anymore. Her mom and her closest friends and siblings were beginning to get worried for her, but she does it anyways. She does all the eccentric behaviors. She joins like the cult-like movement. So in a sense, reflecting back on it now, while I was reading it, I felt very kind of like annoyed or irritated because like, you know, why would she do it if she knew that it was going to be bad for her? But retrospectively, I understand that she do it because, you know, that is the whole point of this book, which is that she does what the self-help book tells her to do. And in a sense, this is teaching us a learning lesson that if we blindly follow what the self-help book says, we're gonna be digging a hole for ourselves. And in also in a general sense that a lot of self-help books are not true. They just there to get you to spend money to buy it, to help the authors, that is. Okay, and next is that I felt that it would be more meaningful if she tried actual sensible self-help advice and determine whether it was effective or not. So there were some books in there that were very iffy, you know. I really didn't know why she picked it up. For example, you know, if I just open it and see, I think it was Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins. So from that book, she became a little crazy, I felt. Yeah, so I thought that, you know, if she tried actual books that, you know, recommended much more sensible things, then it would have been more effective and helpful for me. So for example, like maybe Atomic Habits or something, you know, or the Marie Kondo one, Spark Joy, yeah, but it wasn't here. From that, my general consensus that this book is a fun read, but in no way itself should this be taken as a self-help book, which I believe Marianne is trying to set out to do as well, that she's just trying the effectiveness of the self-help book, but she doesn't want to use it to teach anybody any wrong things, you know, or it's just a learning lesson to not blindly follow whatever you read about in self-help books. But I still enjoyed reading Marianne's book because I like her style of writing. She writes in a very digestible way. She simplifies a lot of concepts as well. So for example, in The Power of Now, she was saying that, you know, everything is very confusing. She doesn't really understand what the author is trying to say, which I resonate with because, you know, a lot of books use very sophisticated language and in very complex sentence structures, which is not easy for the brain to pick up. So I really enjoyed the way that she wrote it, like a story with lots of dialogues, thoughts of from herself, you know, but in very simple English. I felt that it was kind of disappointing to know that Marianne still hasn't found her guy, because in a major portion of the book, she was actually looking forward to get into a relationship with the advice of the self-help books, but eventually there was a potential interest in the book, but when I went to search her out recently, she said that she was still single. So lastly, yeah, I'm actually quite surprised that I've never heard about this book before in my circles or on the internet, because it's quite a novel idea, you know, like you actually try out what the book is, what the self-help book is asking you to do, rather than just reading about it, which is what most of us does. So yeah, my thoughts is maybe she should make it into a documentary, you know, like those reality TV shows where she documents everything that she goes through and see how it turns out in the end. I think that would have been a phenomenal documentary. In summary, I recommend this book and you should pick up a copy if you haven't yet. That's all from me. Bye!